Chapter 3 of Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frostmaiden is a big old dungeon with a big old dragon. Well, sort of. Like a lot of pre-written dungeons, there are plenty of rooms we can cut to make room for the things that matter most to our own campaigns. So I'm going to break down all 37 rooms, dig into why your party should actually delve this dungeon, and at the end of the video, share how I reskinned the entire plot of this chapter to fit my campaign so you can make it fun for yours. Because I'm Bob, and this is where we learn how to have more fun playing D&D together. According to the book, characters are more likely to survive this chapter if they're at least 4th level. And this shouldn't be a problem, but if your low-level PCs immediately left 10 towns to find this DUERGAR fortress, check out my video on the Chapter 2 encounters and put some of them in their way. Once within the fortress, your party can level up 2 different ways: defeating Xardarok Sunblight, the bad guy here, or accomplishing 2 of the following 3 feats: finding the flight plan of Xardarok's Shardolin dragon, freeing a captured Myconid, or destroying the dragon heart that powers Xardarok's forge. Even if they complete all these points, your party can only reach level 6 here as Rin. And this is tricky with the level 7 recommendation for Chapter 5, and the fact that Chapter 4 is almost guaranteed to play out before Chapter 3. But if you recall my video about challenge rating, around level 5 is when balanced encounters should go out the window, so don't stress over these details. Because, hey, the writers didn't. There's actually a section on how to incentivize your PCs to even come here because they may never encounter any of Xardarok's Shardolin-stealing sons. This almost happened to my party, but instead of a generic town speaker just telling them about a captured DUERGAR who spilled the beans about this evil plot to destroy 10 towns, my party was specifically summoned to help interrogate the prisoner because one of my PCs is a Drow Ranger. And, for reasons I'll explain later, I have replaced the entire Sunblight family with vengeful Dark Elves. But another fun hook is to have the awesome Goliath Werebear ask the party to rescue the Goliath prisoner written to be in there, or some well-liked PC trapped in the fortress. This could even lead to a dramatic prisoner exchange scene like in every decent action movie. Oh, and with your party actually climbing mountains to get here, this is a good opportunity to finally hit them with an avalanche. Then, whenever your party arrives, the Shardolin dragon is written to be released from the fortress and fly off toward 10 towns. This makes for a spectacular scene and a tense decision for the party to stop the dragon or its creator. But obviously they need to stop the dragon first, so I kinda don't like this execution. In a recent session, my party finally walked into East Haven to find the wizard Dazan already burning at the stake. And it felt a little silly to have forced that loss upon them. So, my plan for this dragon is to give the party about 4 rounds of combat with Xardarok while some minions are unchaining the dragon, so they may even have the chance to damage it before it flies off. And I would be totally down to split the party by having some stay to finish off Xardarok while others ride off on the dragon trying to bring it down. That would be spectacular and really make this dungeon the start of an encounter your players will never forget. And before we get into the actual rooms, note that this dungeon, which is a subplot of the actual mission to save 10 towns from the Frostmaiden, has multiple subplots. There's a conspiracy to take out Xardarok, led by his supposed girlfriend. There's an imprisoned doppelganger, Mind Flayer, and Myconid in addition to the imprisoned Goliath. There's also a devil in disguise, and the fact that Xardarok's whole plan is actually being orchestrated by the archdevil Asmodeus, not a DUERGAR goddess as he thinks. Hard to believe this guy described as wildly paranoid let all of this slip under his nose. But like so many other parts of this book, it's just too much stuff in too many directions, so I cut most of it to keep my players from getting bogged down in the affairs of this bad guy who doesn't even have a direct connection to our real, except if you decide he is an ally of the Frost Druids. So Area 1 is the front door that cannot be opened without magic or the lever in nearby Area 6. So if no one in your party knows the knock spell, they could somehow sneak in through an arrow slit, or infiltrate through the ice gate on the roof, which should be open for the dragon, and because it's literally the only ventilation for this forge complex. But a written-in failsafe is to have the treasonous guard in Area 6 discreetly open the door for them. So, if you do use this conspiracy subplot, you should have your party actually just talk to the guy and learn about it here. Through the gate, Area 2 is empty, but 9 DUERGAR from Area 3 will come running when one keeping watch alerts the rest. You could have that guard at least throw out a who goes there before waking the others, or replace them with a trap or an alarm that the party has a chance to avoid. Area 3 also contains a secret tunnel from 3 to 4, and if you've seen my Icespire Peak videos, you already know the D&D Beyond player version of the map includes the so-called secret tunnel, but just for you, I posted an edited version to Reddit, linked in the description. And if you would like a secret door-free, simplified, VTT-ready version of each fortress level map with 5-foot squares instead of 10-foot squares, check out the PDF version of this guide available on my Patreon. Area 4 contains a mechanized diorama of the dragon's flight plan around 10 towns, which is an awesome giveaway of what will happen if your party does not move quickly. Area 5 is Zardarok's own quarters with a trapped statue of his goddess and a trapped treasure chest, but I would replace the spilling poisonous gas with straight up lava because the whole fortress is already supposed to be shrouded in a poisonous haze from the forges below, and lava is always epic. Area 6 contains the treasonous guard, the main door's lever, and an elevator up to Area 13 with half of the ice gate's controls, or down to Area 22, the forge's main elevator room. Note that the car is constantly moving up and down, pausing at each floor, so the party will have to wait a minute or two before they can get on or off at the right stop. Area 7 is an empty office, and 8 is a dining room with the Grand Conspirator herself, Grandolpha Moosgart, and 3 loyal bodyguards who will entertain questions from the party. Though it should be very difficult for the party to convince her to switch gears and violently overthrow Zardarok because she's already doing it the easy way. Area 9 is the 220-foot shaft between the roof gates and the forge, which should be open and easy to fall down. 10 and 11 are his son's quarters, but they should be out stealing Chardalyn from their respective towns, and Area 12 is a training room with 4 animated armors and another elevator. And this is a great place to put a few of the DUERGAR from Area 3 if you'd rather split them up. Areas 13, 14, and 15 on the top level contain the controls for the Ice Gate, as well as 5 DUERGAR and 2 mech suit wearing DUERGAR hammerers, which I made a little more horrific and connected to the reanimated spores we'll hear about in a minute by describing them as undead constructs of iron and Chardalyn. And I mostly use these creatures throughout the dungeon instead of living guards because they're cooler. The forge level below technically begins with Area 16, a passage to the Underdark, where 4 DUERGAR will unleash a recently captured Umber Hulk on the party, then turn invisible, which is pretty funny, so I say keep that as it is. And Area 17 is a bunch of interconnecting mine tunnels inhabited by rust monsters, which is also pretty funny if your PCs try to hide in there. Area 18 is a heavily guarded passage into the subterranean keep of this fortress, and while the 4 crossbow-wielding DUERGAR are pretty cool, lava is way better. Use lava. And 19, the throne room, is a subplot scene with a Quaggoth torturing a Myconid for its reanimating spores, which is also cool, but for simplicity, I'm scrapping all the Quaggoths and just putting the Myconid in Area 28 with the other prisoners. Not only can this reanimating Myconid explain the undead construct guys, but it makes Zardarok a little more evil, and this natural necromancy makes a great connection to Dazan the wizard, whose simulacrum will come here to capture the Myconid for himself. So, once this dragon takes off, this wizard who the party just saw burned alive will bust in to help any PCs finishing off Zardarok, grab this Myconid, then cast Fly on himself and anyone who isn't already riding the dragon. This is my cool idea to temporarily confuse my players, but make up for their missed opportunity to save Dazan, and allow him to become their wizard ally in defeating the dragon, instead of that other Arcane Brotherhood person who my party still doesn't even know about, and who I now just get to cut from the campaign. Simplicity. Area 23 is a gate defending the keep, so the party should easily be able to open it from the west side into the forge. Areas 24, 25, and 26. And here is where the party should find Zardarok laughing maniacally while DUERGAR mechs carefully lock the beating red dragon's heart into the chest of his chained Charlatan dragon, nearly ready to unleash it upon 10 towns. Personally, I think this is so awesome compared to the dragon heart just being used to power the forge. In any case, 4-ish rounds should provide a solid fight while DUERGAR mechs unchain the dragon, and guards in the towers are tossing down javelins, and just make sure there's some lava splashing around by the forge. Then the rest of this level is a lot less exciting. Area 27 has cool giant lizards that are definitely not viable mounts in the frozen world above. 28 is a dungeon with the rando doppelganger, the Myconid, and the Goliath. 28 is a neat temple, but with a mutilated mind flayer, and I totally ignored it. 30 is an elevator. 31 is this priest who's actually a devil and really just another conspirator, so I cut it. 32 is a trapped hallway that doesn't even mention lava. 33 is a barracks with 15 DUERGAR who apparently will agree to a violent uprising, but at this point seem like 15 too many DUERGAR. 34 has an innocent DUERGAR being tortured for conspiracy, which is just one too many prisoners. 35 is Grandolpha's bedroom, which is fine, I guess, but feels like it belongs on the main floor with all the other bedrooms. And 36 is 2 more of the Nido DUERGAR mechs guarding Area 37, the Treasure Vault, which does have some good loot and makes for a decent place to put any magic items your players have been asking for. Alright, my connection between this fortress and the Frostmaiden came about in a very organic and satisfying way, and I just want to tell you about it. But if you happen to be Grace, Dan, Steven, or Steven, you better stop watching this video. Okay, early on, my party found the ancient elven temple in Lonely Woods Forest, and got knocked out by Ravison the Frost Druid who lives there, after she proclaimed her loyalty to Auril. When they woke up, Ravison was gone, so they explored and resurrected Sanhar, the mummy who claimed to be an elven emperor of old, but could only remember that and his name, because the book doesn't provide any other info, and I didn't prepare for it. The party also discovered the 2 other sarcophagi, and because I wanted to put cool loot in them, I added a ring of shared suffering and 1/2 of a broken moonbow to each grave. Between the rings signaling some kind of tragedy and this familial weapon being destroyed and buried, my players concluded that these graves were for a couple who never had or lost their children and whose deaths ended Sanhar's family line. And I stole that sweet, sweet idea. I decided the couple had a daughter who married a drow man and continued their family line in the Underdark. And today, Sanhar Ulora, drow grandson of Sanhar the Mummy, has pledged himself and his clan to the Frostmaiden. And together, they are working to eliminate all these invading humans and retake his ancestral lands. At first, my players missed a bunch of clues, but when they finally pieced this together, it was awesome. And I really appreciate you just listening to me ramble about my game instead of what's in the book. Now, if you found this video valuable, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing or even joining Patreon to get PDF versions of these guides and VTT-friendly, simplified maps of this fortress. So, shout out to the PMD, Jonah, Lexi, Bob, Royal Jelly, Jacob, Thomas, Lex, and Mick for joining Patreon. Thank you for all your support, and keep building.